Hey there, fellow seekers, and welcome back to the Timeless Wisdom Podcast on the Monkey Mind Mechanics channel. Today we're diving deep into a book that's been making waves for decades, Neville Goddard's At Your Command. It's a text that speaks directly to those of us on a New Age journey, exploring the law of attraction, the power of consciousness, and those fascinating quantum 5D concepts.
You know what's really striking about this book is how it takes these seemingly complex ideas and distills them into powerful principles that can help us navigate our modern world.
Absolutely. It's like a roadmap for understanding manifestation and the true nature of our creative power. Right from the start, Neville grabs your attention with this bold statement. Man has always decreed that which has appeared in his world. It's a powerful concept, but I have to admit, it's a little mind-bending too.
It is, and that's where things get really interesting. He's not talking about just wishing for things or chanting affirmations. It's about the deep inner work of consciousness. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings, they're all shaping our reality, whether we're aware of it or not.
So it's like we're constantly sending out these energetic signals, these decrees, based on what's going on inside of us. And the universe is responding accordingly. It's almost like we're all walking around unknowingly manifesting our experiences.
Exactly. Imagine for a moment, if you're constantly worried about money, feeling like you're never going to have enough, what are you decreeing into your reality?
You're basically telling the universe, I am lack,
Yeah,
and attracting more of that energy into your life.
precisely. And that leads us to another core concept in the book, the true nature of God. Neville presents a revolutionary idea that might challenge some traditional beliefs.
This is where things get really intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
He suggests that God isn't this external being separate from us,
Yeah.
but rather our own awareness of being, the I am consciousness within each and every one of us.
He even points to scriptural references to support this idea. Moses saying, I am hath sent me unto you. David declaring, be still and know that I am God. It's all about recognizing this inherent divine power within.
Right. And even Jesus himself said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. It's all pointing to this incredible power of I am.
So if God is this I am consciousness within us, it completely transforms our understanding of prayer. It's not about begging an external deity for favors, but about aligning ourselves with this inherent creative power.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
So how does Neville explain this I am consciousness? How does it actually work in terms of manifestation?
He uses the analogy of the conceiver and its conception. The conceiver in this case is the I am, the divine consciousness within us. And the conception is the thing we desire to manifest. Just like a parent conceives a child, we conceive our desires through our thoughts, beliefs, and feelings.
Okay, that makes sense. But the conceiver is always greater than the conception, right?
Absolutely. Just as a parent is greater than their child, our I am consciousness is greater than any individual manifestation. It's the source from which all things flow.
So instead of trying to change external circumstances, we need to shift our consciousness to align with the reality we desire. But how do we actually do that? We can't just snap our fingers and become millionaires or instantly manifest our dream partner.
That's where Neville introduces some incredibly practical techniques. He uses this striking analogy in the book, comparing us to grasshoppers in the face of giant problems.
I love this analogy because it speaks to our self-perception, right? We often feel so small and powerless compared to the challenges we face.
Exactly, and that's where the problem lies. If we see ourselves as small and insignificant, that's exactly how others will perceive us, and that's the reality we'll create. But if we embrace our inner giant, the divine power within us, things start to shift.
It's about recognizing our inherent worthiness and claiming our true potential. So what are some of the specific techniques Neville outlines for shifting our consciousness and tapping into this inner giant?
One of the most fundamental techniques is what he calls going within and shutting the door. It's about taking our attention away from the outer world, quieting the mind, and connecting with that deeper awareness within.
It's like creating a sacred space within ourselves where we can commune with that divine I am consciousness.
Precisely. And from that space, we can start to reshape our reality.
This is starting to sound a lot like meditation.
You could say that. It's about cultivating a state of stillness and presence, where we can access the power of our subconscious mind.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, it's about going deeper, connecting with that source of creation within us.
Exactly. And from that place of connection, we can start to consciously choose the reality we want to experience.
This is where it all starts to click for me, this idea of going within, quieting the mind, connecting with that deeper awareness. It's like we're stepping into the role of the conscious creator.
Exactly. And from that space of conscious creation, Neville introduces another powerful technique called magnifying the Lord.
Now, I know that might sound a little intimidating, especially for those who aren't particularly religious, but it's not about worshiping an external deity.
Right. It's about expanding our self-concept to encompass the qualities we seek. It's about seeing ourselves as already possessing those qualities, even if the external evidence hasn't caught up yet.
So if I'm desiring abundance, I would start to see myself as already abundant, even if my bank account doesn't reflect that yet.
Precisely, you start to embody the feeling of abundance, the gratitude, the generosity. You magnify those qualities within yourself.
And that's where the law of attraction comes in, right? Like, attracts us.
Exactly. By embodying the qualities of our desires, we're essentially becoming a vibrational match to those desires. We're attracting them into our reality.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about feeling, embodying, becoming the vibration of what we want to experience.
Absolutely. And this leads to another fascinating concept. Neville emphasizes forgiveness.
Now, how does forgiveness tie into manifestation? I can see how holding on to anger and resentment could create negative energy, but how does it actually block our manifestations?
It's like this: when we're holding on to those negative emotions, we're essentially creating a wall between ourselves and the good we desire. It's like trying to attract abundance while simultaneously broadcasting a signal of lack and negativity.
So forgiveness is about clearing those energetic blockages, creating space for the good to flow in.
Precisely. And Neville even takes this a step further with the concept of tithing to the true God.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. Most people think of tithing as giving 10% of their income to a church or charity, but Neville has a completely different perspective.
Instead of giving to an external institution, he suggests that true tithing is about giving the qualities we desire to our own consciousness.
So if I'm desiring love, I would cultivate love within myself. If I'm desiring abundance, I would cultivate generosity and gratitude.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we are the source of our own abundance, our own love, our own joy, and by embodying those qualities, we're essentially tithing to the true God, the divine consciousness within us.
That's such a powerful concept, and it ties back to the idea of magnifying the Lord, right? We're expanding our self-concept to encompass those qualities we desire.
You got it. It's all interconnected.
And you mentioned earlier that Neville weaves in biblical stories to illustrate his principles. I'm curious to hear more about that. How does he interpret these ancient texts through the lens of manifestation?
One story that really stands out is the parable of the prodigal son. It's a beautiful metaphor for the journey of manifestation.
I've always loved that story, but I've never thought about it in terms of manifestation.
The prodigal son represents the part of us that has wandered away from our true essence, our source of power. We've all had moments where we felt lost, disconnected, unworthy.
And yet the story reminds us that no matter how far we stray, there's always a path back home.
Exactly. And that path is through recognizing our inherent worthiness, our divine inheritance. The fatted calf in the story represents the abundance that awaits us when we return to our true selves.
It's like we've been given this incredible gift, this infinite potential, but we've forgotten about it.
And the story of the prodigal son reminds us to come back to that awareness, to claim our inheritance.
What about the story of Daniel in the lion's den? I remember learning about that as a kid, but I never connected it to manifestation.
Daniel's unwavering faith, even when facing what seemed like certain death, is a powerful example of what Neville calls feeling the reality you want. Daniel didn't focus on the lions. He focused on his connection to God, his unwavering belief that he was protected.
And that's what ultimately saved him. His unwavering faith created his reality.
Exactly. And we can apply that same principle to our own lives when we're faced with challenges. Instead of getting caught up in fear and worry, we can choose to focus on the desired outcome, the feeling of already having what we want.
It's like we're shifting our energetic frequency to align with the solution rather than the problem.
And that brings us to another powerful story. The widow and the 3 drops of oil.
That's a story I haven't heard in a while. Refresh my memory.
The widow is in desperate need with only 3 drops of oil to her name. But through her faith and her willingness to follow the prophet's instructions, those 3 drops of oil multiply until she has enough to pay off her debts and live abundantly.
It's a reminder that even when it seems like we have very little, we actually possess the seeds of abundance within us.
Exactly. And just like the widow's faith multiplied her oil, Our faith in our own creative power can multiply our resources, our opportunities, our blessings.
These biblical stories are so rich with symbolism and meaning. I'm starting to see them in a whole new light.
That's the beauty of Neville's work. It helps us unlock the hidden wisdom within these ancient texts and apply them to our modern lives. He even offers a unique perspective on the phrase asking in his name.
Now, this is another concept that can be easily misunderstood.
It's not about literally saying in Jesus' name at the end of our prayers. It's about aligning ourselves with the Christ consciousness, the divine essence within each of us.
So it's about embodying the qualities of love, compassion, forgiveness. It's about approaching our desires from a place of wholeness and unity.
Exactly. And when we do that, we're tapping into a power far greater than our individual ego.
It's like we're aligning ourselves with the universal flow of abundance.
And remember, Neville emphasizes that forgiveness is key to unlocking that flow.
Right, because when we hold on to resentment, we're essentially blocking that flow of good into our lives.
And remember his unique interpretation of tithing. It's about cultivating those qualities we desire within ourselves.
So instead of giving 10% of my income to a church, I'm giving 100% of my attention to cultivating abundance of love and joy within myself.
Exactly. It's a much more empowering and meaningful way to approach giving.
I love how Neville's teachings seamlessly blend spirituality and practicality. It's not just about lofty concepts. It's about taking action, making conscious choices, and creating the lives we truly desire.
That's what makes his work so timeless and relevant. It's about empowering individuals to take control of their own reality and tap into their inherent creative power.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive into Neville Goddard's At Your Command. I feel like my mind has been stretched in all sorts of amazing ways.
It's truly inspiring stuff, isn't it? It's about recognizing the incredible power we each hold within to shape our realities.
It is. But I think for some listeners, it might also feel a little overwhelming. There's so much to unpack, so many techniques to try. Where do we even begin to apply all of this in our daily lives?
You know, Neville emphasizes that we are the operant power. Our consciousness is the driving force, not the other way around. So the first step is simply becoming aware of that.
So instead of feeling like we're at the mercy of external circumstances, we start to recognize that we have a choice in how we respond, how we create, how we experience the world.
Precisely. It's a shift from feeling like a victim to becoming a conscious creator. And from that place of empowerment, we can start to experiment with some of the practical techniques Neville offers.
Like the state of the wish fulfilled. That one really stood out to me. It's almost like we're creating a movie in our minds, immersing ourselves in the feeling of already having what we desire.
Exactly. And the more vivid we can make that mental image, the more real it becomes to our subconscious mind. Engaging all our senses is key. What do we see, hear, feel, even taste and smell in this desired state?
It's like we're planting a seed in the fertile ground of our subconscious. And through consistent visualization, we're nurturing it to grow.
And speaking of nurturing, we can't forget about the importance of gratitude, not just for what we have, but for what we're in the process of manifesting.
So even before our desires materialize in the physical world, we can start to feel grateful for them as if they're already ours.
Exactly. Gratitude is like a powerful magnet drawing those desires closer to us. It's like saying to the universe, I trust you, I believe this is already mine, and I'm so grateful for it.
So we're cultivating that feeling of joyful anticipation, of knowing that what we desire is on its way. What else can we do to strengthen that connection with our desires?
Don't underestimate the power of simply claiming what you want. Say it out loud, write it down, feel it in your bones. I am healthy. I am abundant. I am loved.
There's that I am power again. We're not just wishing or hoping. We're declaring it as truth.
Right. Remember, I am is the name of God, the creative force within you. And when you speak from that place of knowing, you're aligning yourself with the very power that brings things into being.
This reminds me of Neville's unique perspective on prayer. It's not about begging an external God, but about claiming our own divine power to co-create with the universe.
Exactly. And when doubts inevitably creep in, because let's face it, they will, that's where faith comes in.
Okay, so how do we cultivate that kind of unwavering faith?
It's about trusting in the unseen, in the power of our own consciousness to bring things into being. It's knowing that the seed we've planted will grow, even if we can't see the sprout just yet.
It sounds like a lot of this boils down to managing our minds, shifting our focus from doubt and fear to belief and trust.
You're absolutely right. And remember, Neville provides us with so many tools for doing just that. Going within, magnifying the Lord, cultivating gratitude, claiming our desires. It's about finding what resonates with you and practicing it consistently.
So for someone who's feeling a bit overwhelmed, what's one simple step they can take today to start applying Neville's teachings?
Choose one desire, one thing you truly want to manifest in your life, and then spend just 5 minutes each day vividly imagining yourself already experiencing it. Feel the joy, the gratitude, the satisfaction as if it's already yours. Do this consistently and watch what happens.
Such a simple yet powerful practice. Start small, stay consistent, and trust in the process.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the power of consciousness. A huge thank you to Neville Goddard for his timeless wisdom, and to you, our amazing listeners, for joining us on this journey.
And remember, the world is truly at your command. Choose wisely, create boldly, and never stop believing in the infinite power within you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Monkey Mind Mechanics channel and the Timeless Wisdom podcast for more deep dives into timeless wisdom. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep manifesting your most magnificent dreams.